space with our models. The planning work for this layout was done a long time ago. It all began in 1996. After it had been displayed in the region, there were requests to display it on international fairs as well. Then, up to 8 members of the model railway club Modellbahnfreunde Rödental began to work very hard in order to create something really worth seeing. And then we began to visit exhibitions. Via our umbrella organization we applied for participation, and then we made our first big exhibition in Munich. In those days it was sensational, because there were no completely designed LGB layouts which were displayed at the fair. So our layout was densely surrounded by visitors, and there were many articles in the specialist publications, which pleased us very much. And then we went to Cologne, Dortmund and Chemnitz, to name but a few, and there we also displayed our layout. Such a success is an incentive. Little by little, countless scenes were created with carefully arranged groups of figures. They make the scenes look lively, they tell the spectators little stories from former times. Rainer Gildes' career as a railway modeler was a classic one. It all began with a Märklin model railway, which was later given up because of other interests, which were stronger. But the infection with the model railway virus was there, and later it became dominant. Another nice scene. The helpless lorry driver stands in front of his defective vehicle with the long engine bonnet. Some years later, the LGB layout found a new home after years of traveling around. Later we used a crane to lift the single parts of the layout up to my attic, where they were then installed. The layout was thoroughly altered, so it now looks very different from what it formerly was. But those who saw it in the past will still recognize many details which they saw before. Then the question arose where to install such a big layout. We bought this house some 35 years ago, and we then made structural alterations and repairs. Compared to a flat, an old farmhouse offers much more space. A layout like this would be an impossibility in a flat. The attic has a space of more than 100 square meters, and such space is only available in an old house like this. The wheel turns full circle. The trunks are cut into boards and beams, another freight for the narrow-gauge railway. The favorite of every railway modeler certainly is the depot. It has also found its place. The locomotives have to be turned manually. Quite a few club members will certainly miss this layout. They would probably like to play with it. The normal procedure is an invitation for my club friends. We then spend a nice afternoon together and we serve coffee and cake. Of course, my club friends sometimes bring their own models. There are models which would normally not be operated in a garden. We then admire them together, find out how well they run, and look at the details the different vehicles have. There is also passenger traffic, but rail cars are sufficient for it. Well, it happened that we convert many models. We alter them a little or change their color. All this makes our hobby more exciting. It is much nicer than to simply buy models and then use them as they come out of the box. This here, for example, is the U-Class made by LGB. As it is an engine of a forest railway, we fitted the locomotive with the appropriate spark-arresting chimney. All the other accessories, such as chains, ropes, the hose pipes for water taking outside depots, all these were common parts belonging to locomotives of forest railways. There were no water cranes at the tracks. I took photos of the company building and the splitting shop in Lehiston in the slate mine, and then I modeled these subjects. Many of the buildings you see here were made from commercially available kits, but some are also homemade. This family-owned farm invites the spectator to closely inspect the details. Is the engine shed a familiar sight to you? Yes, it could be the one in Jöstadt in Saxony, which has been adapted to find its place right here. You would of course find a Saxon 4K locomotive there, while here the small classic models made by LGB come together in front of the shed. These engines too have been improved, and some have even been converted.
And there's
another small attraction which has caused a lot of attention at fairs. It is a small BMW-made Isetta microcar. It is made in 1:18 scale, so it is a little too big, but this is something we wanted. We then built a complete chassis of brass with a motor drive, and now we employ this little Isetta as a railway service vehicle. A look inside the cute vehicle. The engine driver looks a little bit tired. Quite obviously, he had to work hard all day long. There would be many more things to be discovered on this layout, but unfortunately it is impossible to show all this in our contribution. The very lovingly made arrangement is convincing. Some arrangements would be impossible in a garden. Wind and weather would destroy the fine materials used for it. But the LGB model railway is also a fantastic thing for indoor operation. Well, of course you need to have sufficient space unless you operate classic small vehicles such as the Wismar railcar. This little vehicle will please its owners on small layouts too.